Okay, I should have covered this on the last video, but I want to go over the API cost a little bit. But beforehand, I want to talk about the different kind of model, okay? Different kind of model that Cloud offers you within your subscription and when you should use which, because the most recent model will cost you a lot more and it's going to burn your credit a lot faster, okay? So they have three different models. They have Opus 4.6, which is the most recent model, okay? Haiku is like the oldest model. Sonnet came right before Opus, okay? Now, if you're running everything in Opus, you're going to be out of credit very fast just because it's the most capable and the newest model, and it can automate a lot of things faster. Okay, so if you're doing something very critical, building a website, vibe coding things, or you are doing a social media research with multiple different options, for example, you are curating ideas from online, scraping website, figuring out which video you're going to build, building a script, automating that script using tool called like HeyGen, where you are just generating AI avatar to automate that task, which is what I do personally. Bring that out, posting it on your social media, and automating the whole process. It did Opus 4.6. Okay, you can't use Sonnet because Sonnet gonna just keep thinking. Okay, and it's gonna take a lot longer. If you're vibe coding a complex website, right, where you are building multiple pages, you are connecting different services, you need to use Opus. Okay, for example, you are doing a deep research in the medical field where you gave the system a lot of data, right? And you want the system to crunch through those data and give you a summary, different sources, you need high compute power. Or you're building a website with multiple different integration, like you are integrating with Amazon, Etsy, right? You're just building complex system. Opus is the solution for that. Okay, Sonnet is pretty good in handling a lot of complex tasks, but this is more for like general tasks. Okay, I tried to do complex tasks with Sonnet, takes a lot longer, and sometimes it just falls into sleep. For example, let's say you have one or two PDF that you want to upload, and you want the system to review this PDF. It can do that. You are doing a review for your legal documents. You can upload it. It can do that. You want to find some simple ideas like one or two step task. Hey, go find this idea and write me a script, or let me write me like step by step process for that. You can use Sonnet. So anything that's lighter, you are doing research, but it's not the deep research, right? For example, let's say you are doing some financial research and you have some Excel sheet, you're just dumping it through and be like, hey, build me a colorful graph. It can do that. Build me a PowerPoint. Sonnet can do that. Okay, something which is complex but not on the level of complex where you're gonna have 4, 5, 6 different steps you'd have to go through, right? If it's not that critical of a task, Sonnet can do that. Okay, Haiku is good at doing very light tasks. For example, you want to write your social media handles, or you want to post something in LinkedIn, or you want to just get a article, right, and you want this to be summarized quickly. Haiku can do that pretty easily. Okay, so depending on what you want to do, if you want to get like automated task or schedule a task where you want to know what's the weather like in your local area, right, every single morning at 6 o'clock, I figured that out. It's a very simple web search, right? But if you want Claude to go to your inbox, read your email, and draft out a response for each email that's important based on their understanding, right, then you need to use Sonnet or Opus. So if you're doing something light, hey, write me a Instagram post about X and here's some context, it can do that. Haiku can do that. But Haiku go do research, create a script, and give you data on a lot of things at the same time. At that time, you have to use Opus. Okay, so this is very important. The reason why it's important because you have to understand what kind of work you're running, right? I run a multi-step automation a couple times a day, right, for my online business, right? I also do some automation on my email, right, and write draft email responses for various email that comes to my inbox. For that, I use a Sonnet. Extending thinking is when you're gonna do a deep research and you really want this model to reason. If you have a lot of like research document that you want to upload, be like, hey, take your time to churn through this, understand it, and give me like a summary of each document. That's when you want to turn on the extended thinking. If you're doing something very complex, that's when you use extended thinking. Okay? So I wanted to cover that first before I go to the API, because API has the same kind of levels, right? They have a model for Opus, which is the most expensive one. Sonnet is the second most expensive. Haiku is the cheapest one. What you have to understand about the API model, which I did not understand, and I spent a lot of token at the beginning of the year. I'm not doing it right now because I just upgraded to the $100 per month level, and I have enough token to do a lot more things without just burning tokens. What you have to understand is input and output, okay? Input, M is for million, so they actually charge you per million token. Sounds like a lot, but it is not a lot. Let me just make sure you understand that, okay? Input means when you are giving the system a prompt or some data. For example, you can say that, hey, build me a website, but I want you to build X, Y, and Z. I want you to take this website as an example. I want you to use this as a reference, like an Apple website as a reference. I want you to build X, Y, and Z. This is just the input. It means that what you are sending to the system. Output is what they're building, okay? So for input, they're charging you $5 for a million token. For output, when they're coding that website, they're charging you $25 per million token. So you have to understand, hey, which model that I'm using, right? Sonnet, $3 per million token, output is $15 per million token, okay? Haiku is same, right? You have to understand what you're putting in the system and what you're getting back. You might gonna be like, I can use Haiku for everything, and you're gonna be dead wrong, because if you're trying to do something that's complex and you're using Haiku, you might gonna burn 30 million token and it's not gonna be able to do nothing for you. And I'm serious, a lot of people try to use Haiku to do a social media automation where you are just trying to find out which video might go viral on YouTube, and you're scraping to figure out what kind of content you have to create. You might gonna burn a lot more credit just by selecting a weaker model. And I'm gonna show you how you can actually switch between models when you use Claude Code and API, though I'm not a big fan of it, but I'm gonna show you anyway so you can make your decision, right? So you have to understand how complex is your task. Okay, don't just select a model if you're using the API just because it costs less. It's gonna cost you a lot more, and you're not gonna get the output that you want, because at the end of the day, they're just gonna give you garbage.